For his children, the murder of Dr. Sonnier in Lubbock, Texas was a tragic and astounding case of lightning striking twice in the same place.
I can only describe it as deja vu.
Their father would die almost exactly 2 years to the day after their mother, Becky, his ex-wife, was shot dead, her second husband, in a bloody murder-suicide.
Losing one parent would be enough to crawl in a hole and, give up on everything. But in our case, we lost both parents and lost them within 2 years of each other, both under incredibly tragic circumstances.
Dr. Sonnier is found savagely murdered, shot 5 times, stabbed 11, his body lying in a pool of blood next to a Gatorade bottle used to silence the gun. And the brutality is painfully reminiscent of the horrible, violent way Dr. Sonnier's ex-wife died.
I just hope no one ever experiences that. I had to do it twice.
Their mother's killing was emotionally devastating for her children.
The boys loved their mother. And there was a lot of grief and anger and a great sadness because it was so unnecessary.
It also deeply hurt their father, who had been married to Becky for nearly 30 years.
He still loved my mom, and the fact that they had gotten a divorce didn't mean that he didn't look back fondly on the years of our family being together.
And Dr. Sonnier continued to be a tower of strength for the family.
Joe immediately took over and handled funeral arrangements, legalities, helped his boys through the trauma of it all. Joe was there for his sons.
Son Dallas says the tragedy drew the two of them even closer than they already were.
We were best friends, we were each other's confidants.
It wasn't just his family who loved Dr. Sonnier.
He was an honest, good guy. He strove to do the correct thing.
He didn't have any real enemies. He had a lot of friends. He took care of a lot of people. He was a support structure for so many of his colleagues and friends.
And being a doctor with charm, good looks, and an estimated net worth of $12 million made him one of Lubbock's most eligible middle-aged bachelors.
He was crazy and silly and funny and very charismatic. The women seemed to love him.
And Dr. Sonnier, 56 at the time, was kicking up his heels at a local ballroom dance club.
He got so good at it. I mean, he was on fire, and he felt so confident in it. It was a great place to meet friends, to meet dates, to take dates.
And it was on the dance floor that Dr. Sonnier would find romance with a stunning 47-year-old divorcee named Rochelle.
When I met her, I liked her immediately. She was funny, she was fun, she was very down to earth. Everybody I know liked her.
Dr. Sonnier had swept Rochelle off her feet, taking her on glamorous nights out to the best restaurants and private clubs, whisking her off to Paris for a romantic getaway and to Los Angeles to meet son Dallas and his family, where Rochelle even got to play with Dr. Sonnier's grandkids.
We were taken by her. She was beautiful, and she was intelligent, and she carried herself in a very respectful manner.
And it was apparent Rochelle was in love with Dr. Sonnier.
She was really into my dad, and that meant a lot to us. That's important.
Rochelle made no secret of it, excitedly posting photos of herself with Dr. Sonnier on Facebook and declaring, quote, "I love this man." And she appeared to have found the Mr. Right she'd been looking for.
At that point, she was a single mom. She was doing all she could to support her kiddos. And she was trying to, find the perfect man. And I think that with Dr. Sonnier, she believed that, I have finally found the perfect man that I can spend the rest of my life with.
And Dr. Sonnier seemed to be equally smitten with the gorgeous Rochelle.
I believe any man would be proud to have her walking beside him.
But Dallas says his father didn't want to commit to any one particular relationship.
I was really sad for him then, because I felt like he was finally with someone who had been a better fit for him than some of his previous relationships, and I knew this one wasn't going to last.
No one could have imagined how suddenly and tragically it would end.
Man, what's going on?
I can't go in.
Dashing Dr. Joseph Sonnier reportedly planned to end his 10-month romance with Rochelle.
Had he been able to end things with Rochelle Shatina, this whole tragedy might not have happened.
Instead, the wealthy pathologist would be found murdered in the garage of his luxury home in Lubbock, Texas, discovered by a pair of gardeners working on the property.
Hey, the person that's with you, or
Oh no! For God!
ma'am, what's going on?
It's him. I don't know.
Ma'am, what's going on?
I can't go in.
One of the gardeners is too hysterical to speak to the 911 operator and hands the phone to her coworker.
We walked in. There was a bullet on the floor. We searched the room, and we found him in the garage. He is not moving. Looks like he's been there for a while, sir.
Okay, is he bleeding or anything? Is he not breathing? What's going on?
No, sir, he's not breathing, and it looks like he's been there for a while. The blood has dried up.
Police arrive at the crime scene to find a bloody Dr. Sonnier lying dead face down on the garage floor, shot 5 times and stabbed 11.
You could chart what happened following the evidence.
The doctor's attacker had apparently broken in through the rear of the house.
And there was a huge picture window that you could see had been pushed in, and part of it was kind of hanging out to the backyard.
Detectives say the shooting occurred in the dining room where bullet casings were found.
And we have a Gatorade bottle there that resembled a silencer or a makeshift silencer.
But the doctor was still alive and apparently tried to get away from his assailant.
Well, then you start to see blood. And if you followed the blood down the hallway, you eventually got to the garage,
where the doctor was repeatedly stabbed until he was dead.
We learned later that those stab wounds were supposed to be where the killer felt vital organs would be at.
Police think it may have been a robbery gone wrong until they discover that nothing was stolen from the house.
Appeared to be just a random type of murder that had taken place.
But investigators can't fathom why anyone would want to kill the highly respected and much loved pathologist.
It was really a whodunit at first. We didn't have any idea.
And cops say everyone who knows Dr. Sonnier is immediately under suspicion.
Everybody's a suspect when you don't know who did it.
But investigators would come to believe jealousy may have been the motive, saying that Dr. Sonnier had been seeing several other women at the same time he was dating Rochelle. And detectives bluntly declare him a serial ladies' man when they questioned her at the station.
We talked to all of Joseph's people.
Right.
And we talked to several women that had been sexually involved with him.
While
Okay.
he was involved with me?
Rochelle appears to be shocked, and the news gets worse.
There were times that maybe you were out of town, and he would call other ladies.
Who would he call?
And this is information we're getting from...
Yeah, this is information that we're getting from statements and other girls.
That I'd be out of town and he would call them and see them, or just call them?
He would call them and see if they wanted to have sex. They would hook up.
Local people?
They were local, yes ma'am.
Rochelle tells detectives she didn't know Dr. Sonnier had been unfaithful to her, insisting that she had nothing to do with his murder and providing police with an alibi for the night he was killed.
Rochelle, when was the last time that you saw Joseph that you remember?
I saw him on Monday night. We were at dance class.
Okay.
And I didn't go over to his house on Monday night. We said goodnight in the parking lot, and I went home.
In another interview with police, Rochelle, who first told cops she didn't know her boyfriend had multiple girlfriends, starts weeping as she points to other women as possible suspects in the murder.
I can't believe I'm having to do this. I'm sorry.
No. You take as much time as you need.
This time, a distraught Rochelle, wearing casual clothes and no makeup, looks like a different woman. And she sobs frequently as she tells detectives that several jealous women from Dr. Sonnier's past had been stalking him. One of them, a Florida dance instructor who wouldn't stop calling Dr. Sonnier even after he told her he was now with Rochelle.
And she started crying and she said, I just wish we had another chance.
She says that another of Dr. Sonnier's exes, a nurse, also refused to stop calling.
He split up with her and she has called and called and called, and I've been together with Joseph and the phone has rung and rung, to the point where he's had to hang it up or had to turn off the ringer.
And Rochelle tells detectives she had just recently received a threatening letter from yet another woman claiming Dr. Sonnier had abandoned her and her daughter.
It was from this girl who said her name was Tina, and that she met Joseph on the internet, and that they had sex for money, basically. She trusted him because he said he was a doctor and that he's a and she said, I hope this hurts him as much as he has hurt us.
But Joseph was like, he totally denied knowing this person. It was a whole...
He said, first of all, I've never paid for sex in my entire life. And he said, this is obviously someone trying to drive a wedge in between us.
And she has an idea of who that someone might be.
So there could be somebody that you think we need to look at. Okay. Tell me about him. What's his name?
A couple of people.
Okay, tell me about one of them.
Okay, one is Dr. Mike Dixon.
Dr. Mike Dixon.
He's a plastic surgeon in Amarillo.
And Dr. Dixon is not just another physician. He's also Rochelle's obsessed ex-boyfriend, and he's got a grudge.
And I know that he blames me for our breakup.
An Amarillo plastic surgeon, well known from starring in commercials for his cosmetic med spa. Rochelle tells Lubbock detectives she did just that for Botox treatment and ended up dating the married Dr. Dixon for the next 18 months.
It's very tumultuous and up and down and horrible.
And Rochelle says in another police interview that a jealous and obsessed Dr. Dixon was furious when she eventually dumped him for Dr. Sonnier, maybe even furious enough to kill him.
What about Mike in particular would lead you to believe that he could have been involved in this particular event?
Well, first of all, he didn't want to split up. He wanted me to come back to him.
Lubbock lead detective Zach Johnson, accompanied by an Amarillo investigator, make an unscheduled house call on Dr. Dixon, and they record the audio of their interview with him.
What's going on?
Well, we've had a homicide in Lubbock, Texas today.
They tell a startled Dr. Dixon that Rochelle had mentioned his name when she was interviewed about Dr. Sonnier's murder.
Sort of shocked that I'm brought up.
You're on the list of like 8 million people. This is a huge whodunit for sure.
Well, I didn't.
You don't know anything about what happened today in Lubbock, do you?
I have no. You're knocking on my doors the first I've.
Okay. Does it surprise you at all that this guy ended up dead?
Hell yeah.
Detectives asked Dr. Dixon about his relationship with Rochelle, and he admits he fell in love with the beautiful divorcee at first sight.
I knew when I saw her that I wanted to date her.
Okay.
I sort of felt that way. My problem was I was married.
Oh, yeah. That kind of gets in the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did.
In fact, Dr. Dixon says he left his wife of 20 years for Rochelle.
I love that woman. I really did. I really had fallen head over heels.
How would you describe your relationship? Good, bad, volatile, argumentative?
It was good, it was great. When it was bad, it was argumentative.
Dr. Dixon's ex-girlfriend Rochelle puts it another way.
It was the worst relationship that I've ever had in my entire life.
She says Dr. Dixon turned out to be an emotionally abusive serial philanderer.
he was mean-spirited. He was mentally cruel. He was a liar and a cheat, obviously, you know, and not just with me, you know, with his wife.
And Rochelle left him, believing she'd been deceived.
Everything was a lie. And, you know, he was not the person that I thought he was in the beginning.
Rochelle says Dr. Dixon desperately tried to reconcile with her after she left him and moved to Lubbock.
But I said, I can never, ever go back to that. Not ever.
She said, well, I'm in another relationship now. And so that broke my heart. I said, hey, I'd like to try to put this back together if that's possible.
According to Rochelle, Dr. Dixon told her he'd even be willing to share her with Dr. Sonnier.
He said, I'm not asking you to stop seeing him. I just want you to see me too and give me a chance. And I told him that I didn't do that to him and I wasn't going to do it to Joseph.
So he wanted you to see him on the side, basically.
And Dr. Dixon admits it to detectives.
And she was like, no way, I don't want to do that.
It was around this same time that Rochelle says she began to feel like she was being followed. And Rochelle says she and Dr. Sonnier both thought they saw a camera flash in the backyard of his home one night.
Have you ever heard anything about that?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so you've never even been there?
No.
Dr. Dixon provides an alibi for the day of Dr. Sonnier's murder, saying he was at work through the day and spent the night with a new girlfriend.
You didn't hire anybody to go over there and commit this crime and kill him. So you wouldn't be able to give me any information on who I may look at that could have been involved in this particular case.
I have no idea.
But someone else does.
Is there somebody I can relate some information to?
Yeah, that's me.
Over the last few days, he's been relating these stories to me about this thing that he did.
The caller, Paul Reynolds of Amarillo, says the man, a lifelong friend, told him he killed a doctor in Lubbock.
He said he went down there, he was waiting for this guy, this doctor, at his house somewhere.
And this immediately gets the attention of detectives.
He said he pushed a window in or something, and he said he shot the guy.
The caller supplies details only Dr. Sonnier's killer could have known.
None of this information had been released to the media. And so we knew that he was either A, very close to the person that did this and had in fact been told about it, or B, that he was actually involved in it.
But there's one piece of information Reynolds provides in his call that would break the Dr. Sonnier murder mystery wide open.
So he said that he killed this guy, and also that this doctor friend of his gave him some silver bars, like, you know, payment to do it. And
do you know the doctor's name?
I think it's a guy named Mike Dixon.
The same Amarillo plastic surgeon who had been desperately trying to pry his ex-girlfriend, Rochelle Shatina, out of the arms of her new love, Dr. Sonnier, and get her back.
He texted this Mike Dixon a couple of times while he was sitting there, and then he called Mike Dixon on his phone.
Lubbock detectives head straight to Amarillo and the door of a 52-year-old unemployed salesman named Dave Shepard.
Paul Reynolds explained in the days after the murder, David had started acting very irrationally and suicidal. During this time period when he was highly intoxicated under the influence of medications, he had explained to Paul this whole thing, this whole murder for hire scheme, and that he had actually killed somebody for Dr. Dixon.
And detectives gather plenty of evidence connecting Shepard to the murder of Dr. Sonnier, including a footprint he left at the doctor's home and his DNA found on a Gatorade bottle he used as a silencer for his gun, but dropped at the crime scene.
He wasn't even smart enough to use a Gatorade bottle he didn't, that he didn't drink from.
And look at this. Investigators would find this photo Shepard had accidentally taken on the day of the murder, showing his own reflection on a glass door at the rear of Dr. Sonnier's home.
So he had taken a picture of himself.
Confronted with the overwhelming case against him, Shepard confesses to shooting and stabbing Dr. Sonnier to death as Dr. Dixon's hired gun.
After 3 or 4 discharges, he's stepping away from me.
And Shepard gives detectives a detailed account of this tangled tale of love, jealousy, and murder that began the day he met Dr. Dixon.
You could say they were kindred spirits. They were going through a divorce, both of them separately, and they had met at a cigar bar. And they just started talking, and they hit it off.
We just connected and hooked up, started having friends.
Soon, Dr. Dixon was crying on Shepard's shoulder about his ex-girlfriend Rochelle and how she had fallen in love with Dr. Sonnier.
He mentioned that he wanted to cause her a problem because he left his wife for her. You know, she broke up his marriage, and he just wanted to, I guess, pay back.
And win her back.
He wanted her to come crying in his arms?
Absolutely. I think he wanted her back. And I think if Dr. Sonnier was out of the picture, I believe he thought that Rochelle would come back to him.
Shepard tells detectives he offered to help his new best buddy with Plan A. A smear campaign against Dr. Sonnier.
Just the appearance that this guy might have something on the side. His words, excuse me, her up.
Dr. Dixon already knows how he wants to begin.
And he pretty much wanted to break up Dr. Sonnier and Rochelle. He was asking me if I knew somebody that would pretend to be like a sugar baby of Dr. Sonnier.
And reveal herself to Rochelle.
He goes, I'll pay her $1,000. He goes, I'll pay her money just to do it, but if they break her up, it's $1,000.
Now, remember that letter Rochelle told detectives she received from a woman claiming to be Dr. Sonnier's paid mistress? Well, now they could tell her who was likely behind it.
We found some information out about attempts made by Mr. Shepard and Dr. Dixon that are very damn near close to identical to the letter, okay?
What do you mean attempts?
In regards to asking other ladies to call you and portray themselves as having an affair with Dr. Sonnier.
Okay.
And remember Rochelle saying she thought she was being followed and that she and Dr. Sonnier thought they saw a camera flash one night in his backyard? Well, that was Shepard spying on them on paid trips to Lubbock and reporting back to Dr. Dixon.
And would he give you money up front?
Yes, sir. Give me cash money for gas, normally $100 to $150.
But when the spy and smear campaign fails to break up Rochelle and Dr. Sonnier, Dr. Dixon goes to Plan B.
You wanted him hurt.
And that's just for starters.
And then it gradually developed into having him killed.
Dr. Mike Dixon has come up with a diabolical plan to win his beautiful ex-girlfriend, Rochelle Shatina, back from her new love, Dr. Joseph Sonnier. Kill Dr. Sonnier and destroy his good name at the same time, so an embarrassed and shell-shocked Rochelle will come running back into his arms.
Make it look like he committed suicide, or in an act of autoerotica, ended up killing himself by accident.
Dr. Dixon's right-hand hitman, Dave Shepard, agrees to murder Dr. Sonnier for the unholy sum of, would you believe, 3 silver bars, worth a total of nearly $10,000. And Dr. Dixon gives Shepard one of the silver bars up front as a down payment.
And immediately goes down to the local pawn shop and cashes it in.
But Shepard tells detectives in this confession that the murder would not go down like he and Dr. Dixon anticipated.
He gave me a gun and wanted to know exactly where everything was going on.
Then Shepard sits in a chair in Dr. Sonnier's backyard in the early evening, waiting for him to come home from work.
I have a bandana on, glasses, and I have my bag. In the bag is a gun with a Gatorade bottle on the tip of it, a pair of gloves, a knife, and a belt.
The Gatorade bottle to act as a silencer for the gun, the knife as an emergency backup weapon, and the belt to hang Dr. Sonnier. And Dr. Dixon is exchanging texts with Shepard the whole time.
You know, get her done, are you surveilling them? There were all kinds of things that indicated exactly what was going on.
But Shepard is suddenly surprised by Dr. Sonnier knocking on a window inside the house, trying to get the attention of the stranger on his property.
When I walked to the window, and he just lowered the window about this far from the top down.
And what happens when you walk up to the window? Did he say anything to you?
No, sir. I pulled the gun out of the bag with the Gatorade on it.
And what happens at that point?
I point the weapon with the bottle at him. Discharges several times. He's backing away. He trips on his feet and falls to the ground. I am in the patio. Gun discharges a couple more times.
Dr. Sonnier manages to get up and run down a corridor in the house.
What do you do next?
I push the window in. I don't know if he's going for a gun. I don't know if I've ever hit him. I don't know what's happening.
What happens when you go in there? What happens?
Pretty much run around the corner as fast as I can so I can intercept him if he has the weapon and he's going to come after me.
Then Shepard sees Dr. Sonnier.
As I turn around down the hallway, right into the garage, he's laying on the floor. Not moving, not breathing, nothing. I check his pulse in his neck. He's dead.
Dr. Sonnier has 5 bullet wounds in his body, but Shepard isn't taking any chances.
I pull a knife out of my bag and I stab him in vital organs 2 or 3, 4 times.
The medical examiner would later find Dr. Sonnier had actually been stabbed 11 times.
The blood is running on the garage floor, underneath his chest, on the left side.
And Shepard hightails it from Lubbock back to Amarillo and an anxious Dr. Dixon.
I go to his house. He gives me the other 2 bars of silver and a box of Cuban cigars.
And what was his response when you explained all the details?
He was happy about it. He was fine with it. He said, "I sound like you got away clean."
That is, until cops arrest Dr. Dixon on first-degree murder charges based on Dave Shepard's confession and a wealth of evidence that includes their texts and phone calls on the night he was killed.
I mean, I'm under arrest at 2:15 in the morning. You're under arrest, correct.
Now detectives hope to get a confession from Dr. Dixon.
And this is probably your only opportunity to tell me what happened. Okay? Because right now, all I've got is Dave's version of events. And as you guys, he went ahead and he told me everything. Okay? And I mean, I don't know. That's all I got. What everything is. I mean, I don't. Okay, well, you've got. I have no idea what the hell's going on here.
Dr. Dixon plays dumb, still insisting he knows nothing about Dr. Sonnier's murder.
If you will talk to me, I can tell you. But if you want a lawyer, I can't talk to you. And you won't know what's going on. So it's up to you. Do you want an attorney or do you want to talk to me? Well, I don't know what's going on now. Okay.
Detectives push him some more.
This is not a joke. $10 million bond. This is not a joke. I understand it, and people come and put the cuffs on me, and.
But Dixon won't crack.
Do you want an attorney before we start talking, or would you want to agree and talk to me and find out what's up? I want an attorney then.
While Dave Shepard pleads guilty to his role as the hitman in Dr. Sonnier's murder and gets life without parole, Dr. Mike Dixon goes to trial, still maintaining his innocence.
Dr. Dixon was charged with capital murder. We waived the death penalty because we weren't certain that a jury would give it in that particular case.
And to the dismay of police, prosecutors, and Dr. Sonnier's family, Dr. Dixon's trial ends in a hung jury.
I didn't see how anybody who heard the same things that I heard could possibly not say guilty.
We were heartbroken.
But they weren't giving up.
The DA knew that he had the evidence to convict this guy, and he was going to make sure that justice was served.
And justice is indeed served at Dr. Dixon's retrial.
That jury took about 3 hours and found him guilty of capital murder, and that's an automatic sentence of life in prison.
And I remember turning and saying, did he say guilty? Was that guilty? And it was just this wave of relief.
Sonnier's family gathering with our affiliate KJTV just minutes after Dr. Dixon is convicted of murder.
It's everybody else's fault. No, he destroyed his family. He murdered my father. End of story.
And Dixon will most likely end his life behind bars. His sentence comes without the possibility of parole.
When you got that guilty verdict, was that like sweet justice?
Getting that guilty verdict was everything that I needed to live my life and to move on and to feel like my dad had been given the justice that he deserved. It was an amazing feeling. I can't describe it. It's undescribable.
Dr. Joseph Sonnier could finally rest in peace.
We got him. We got him, Joe. We got him.
To this day, Dixon still maintains he did not order the hit on his love rival. His lawyers have filed an appeal and are hoping to get a new trial.